Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Q&A session, which I am the moderator. I am Calvin Cheng, council member and chairman of the Young Solicitors Group, and it is my pleasure to have Ms. Beryl Wu and Mr. Ronald to be with me here to talk about secondment position and opportunity with the DOJ and at The Hague. As some of you may know, since December 2020, the Department of Justice has entered into a standing arrangement with the Hague Conference on Private International Law, short form HCCH, for seconding Hong Kong legal professionals in both the public and private sectors to the Permanent Bureau of the HCCH at The Hague, the Netherlands. This arrangement was made pursuant to an agreement concluded between the Central People's Government and the HCCH, and an MOU signed between the HKSAR government and the HCCH on 22nd December 2020. Ms. Beryl Wu is the first from the private practice member to join this secondment program, and she is now still currently in her secondment at The Hague. Beryl will be sharing her experience in applying for this program and her secondment to the HCCH. To give a bit of a background about Beryl, she is an associate at Addleshaw Goddard LLP and focuses her practice on commercial litigation, international commercial arbitration, regulatory investigation, and cross-border insolvency and bankruptcy matters. Joining us as well is Mr. Ronald, partner of Addleshaw Goddard LLP and supervisor of Ms. Beryl Wu. Ronald is also a council member of the Law Society, and we will learn from him on his perspective and the law firm's perspective of how the secondment program is. So without further ado, I will start questions for the both of them. Hi, Beryl.
Hello, Calvin.
So how did you learn about the DOJ's secondment program and what motivated you to apply?
Thank you very much, Calvin. So about how I learned about the secondment program, but actually it was in January last year. It was in a very random occasion that I was browsing the IDAR office web public page on the Facebook, and that secondment recruitment program was actually popped up on my screen. And nearly actually on the same time, Ronald has also sent me a link which links to such as secondment program recruitment. So actually this message has come from two different sources to me. And this actually, this opportunity actually looks really exciting to me because as a legal profession, or even when I was a legal student, I've actually heard a lot about Hague and the Hague Conventions. And we also know that The Hague is the capital of international law. So, and if I will be having an opportunity to work in an international organization in The Hague, that will be a very big honor and a good experience. And that motivates me to apply for this secondment program.
Thank you, Beryl. I guess great minds think alike. So we move to Ronald. So what was your response when you happened to have suggested it at the same time when Beryl found it out herself? And she spoke about her decision to want to join into the secondment program.
I was extremely happy and excited. On the one hand, because it has always been my belief that as a senior lawyer, it is our duty or my duty to groom a junior lawyer. I think it's not even our duty, it's our obligation to groom our juniors, because that's what makes the Hong Kong legal profession thrive. Now, whilst I was very happy and excited, I was also very worried, because I have to now explain to my colleague partners and the firm why the dispute resolution team will be missing a person for 6 months. And also the billable hours for a lot of you who on dispute resolution work will know. And whether there should be a spare pair of hands, how are we going to manage that? That was my worry. Okay, I was happy, but I was also very worried.
I mean, even with all these concerns in mind, you still supported Beryl in her application for this position at the secondment program for The Hague. Were there particular qualities of hers that you felt that she matched this secondment program?
I was thinking initially as to what this role consists of. Obviously, there are the applications, there are the logistics, the reference letters, etc. But in reality, what this person will represent, first, she represents herself. She represents the firm, okay, on a more micro scale. She represents the Law Society because she's a Law Society member. And of course, I'm a council member. She represents the Hong Kong solicitors as a whole. And then she represents Hong Kong legal professions. Obviously, she's from Hong Kong. She represents Hong Kong. And of course, she represents the mainland China. So only fulfilling that criteria would I recommend anyone to go there. And having given much thought, I believe that Beryl is the right candidate for this position. And that's why I supported her. And I do not believe at all that I have made any mistakes. On the contrary, I think I have made the right decision.
That is very, very great to hear. Now back to Beryl, with all these expectations, can you tell us more about your work at HCCH? And do you find it fulfilling so far about the work that you've done? And have there been any challenges?
Yes, of course, it has been a very fulfilling experience. I have been in The Hague already for 2.5 months now. So it has been always a very wonderful experience. Currently in the HCCH, I'm heavily involved in the jurisdiction project, so which is to form a future jurisdictional legal instruments. And I participate in the working group meetings, and it's very fulfilling and honored to participate in the negotiation of a future international instruments, and just feel that I'm being part of the history of performing this international instrument. And being on the challenging side, because this kind of jurisdiction project requires a lot of deep and considerable knowledge on private international law, not only on the research and academic side, but also on the practical side. So most of my colleagues are actually very senior PhD graduates from this field. So I always feel that I always need to keep up and keep learning on this field.
Very, very interesting. Are there any interesting stories that you can share with us? Specifically, with these 2.5 months, the COVID situation is also there. How did they respond to it?
Yes, of course. So in The Hague, there was still some sort of social distancing back in February and March. But since the end of March, and all the social distancing restrictions has been lifted, and we are kind of living pre-pandemic at the moment. And in terms of my interesting experience at work, I would like to share that working in an international organization is a very interesting experience, because all the colleagues are from different places, from different jurisdictions and backgrounds. For example, in the HCCH office, I think only 1 or 2 colleagues is actually local from the Netherlands, and the other colleagues are from different places in the world. For example, we have secondees from the Korea who are judges from the Korea, or have PhD students in the private international law field. So whenever we sit together having lunch or having a drink together, we always have such heated discussions because we are from different legal backgrounds. And from those discussions, I have actually learned a lot on international law or even civil procedures. And I also noticed that we don't have many Hong Kong legal profession that had opportunity to come in The Hague and work in an international organization, or have involvement from the practice of Hong Kong lawyers. So I really hope that our peer lawyers will have more opportunities to have interactions with the HCCH or international organizations, and we will have more lawyers coming into this secondment program.
Thank you. And how has your expectations been? Have your expectations been met so far with what you have been doing and what you were expecting going into The Hague?
Yes, my expectation is always been that I want to participate in those negotiation of legal instrument as much as possible. So far, I have been able to participate in the working group meetings on the jurisdiction project. And actually in this week, I have been participating in a 4 days ancestral working group 5 meeting on insolvency. So these working group meetings are actually very special. And I also, from those working group meetings, I can learn about the future and development of future international instruments. So I can know what is the development of the international law and conventions going to be, or what we are going to expect in the next 5 or 10 years. And that part will be very fulfilling. And in terms of expectation, because of the pandemic, most of these international negotiations and working group meetings have been held online. I couldn't have the opportunity to participate in the meetings physically, but with the COVID restriction being lifted now, I'm going to participate in those meetings and in person. For example, in May, I'm going to participate in a special commission meeting in the Peace Palace in The Hague, and I'm very looking forward to that.
I can definitely hear the passion and the excitement that you have at the Secondment program, making me want to be seconded as well. Now, going back to Hong Kong though, Ronald, I know you've mentioned a bit about the human resources implications. Could you tell us a bit more about how that has been, and also what do you expect when Beryl actually returns to Hong Kong?
First, Beryl is still employed by the firm. She is still in the team, but physically she's in The Hague. So the immediate question was, do we need an extra pair of hands? Do we need to hire extra staff? Obviously, in this economy, it is difficult to persuade anyone to hire an extra pair of hands on a temporary basis. And it is not fair just to hire an extra pair of hands just for those 6 months. So the short answer is no. Now, the question remaining is how to fulfill the gap when Beryl is not in Hong Kong for 6 months. So I take this opportunity to thank all my colleagues and all my partners, because everyone agrees that they will all chip in longer hours to fulfill the role of Beryl, okay, in handling the cases in Hong Kong. So I'm extremely grateful to them. Everyone chips in because we are here to groom a person, Beryl in this case, and hopefully into some other juniors in the future in the firm on this post. Now, when she gets back, hopefully she can immediately start working on cases again. And actually, she is already working on cases. I think I'm getting my money's worth, because apart from her full-time job, I understand that a lot of my colleagues are ringing her up every single day after work to brief her on what is happening on those cases she has been handling. So not only is she working very hard in The Hague, but also after work in the cases. When she comes back, I hope that obviously she has gained much deeper knowledge on the international side of things. And with that, this will arm her and assist her in her day-to-day role, not only as a better lawyer, but also to assist the clients on international matters. So when she comes back, hopefully, and I'm certain that she will be a better and more experienced lawyer on the international front.
So in terms of the temporary work arrangements that you have mentioned just now, are there any tips that you can give to perhaps prospective firms that may wish to second or approve of secondment people seconding to The Hague on how they can actually least affect their operations at the same time and allowing a person to actually go to The Hague for, let's say, 6 months?
I think the entire firm, everyone in the team, has to chip in longer hours, I would say, or extra hours, because someone is not physically in the office. And obviously, we are all talking about working from home, etc. But Beryl's situation is different from working from home, because Beryl is physically not in Hong Kong, but in The Hague, second and working on international matters. So for firms, I think, and we got to be prepared that the firm works longer hours, harder to support a person on secondment. But I understand that a lot of law firms do have secondment programs to the clients for the matter, and I believe that this is already happening. And it should not be a huge dent or huge inconvenience in the firm, but I do expect some inconvenience, but this is well worth it, if you ask me.
Weighing the implications and the inconvenience, but gaining the edge of what Beryl will bring back to your firm, would you recommend other firms to also join this program?
Definitely. Even though this is a painful and hard-working exercise, I think I can categorize that, but still definitely worth it. It is, I think you asked me this question, what do you think are the qualities in sending someone to this secondment? Because she's representing Hong Kong, she's representing the law society. I think it is good for Beryl, good for the legal professions. I think it's good for any of us, because after all, we are members of the law society and we are the Hong Kong legal profession. So it is, to me, it is very, very much a worthwhile exercise to send someone to the Hague or on secondment on an international basis.
Thank you, Ronald. And going back to Beryl, would you recommend your counterparts to apply for the secondment program, and why?
Yes, of course, I would strongly recommend counterparts to apply for the secondment program. As I said, the projects that international organizations are undertaking and those working group meetings are actually usually participated and undertaken by delegates from its member states. So, or is participated by senior academics from private international law. And private practice lawyers usually don't have much experience or opportunities to participate in those works. So it is really a once in a lifetime experience opportunity. And also what I learned from this opportunity is that very different from what we have usually on commercial negotiations on contracts. In this kind of international instrument negotiations, we usually need to take into account international relationships as well as the law of different jurisdictions. So this is actually a very eye-opening experience as well. And thirdly, there are various projects that is taking place in the HCCH. So for example, there are portfolios on jurisdiction projects, financial law, or even family law. So no matter what backgrounds a legal profession is coming from, and he will always find a suitable project and team to be suited in HCCH.
As a final question to you, Beryl, I understand that during the interview, there's actually several rounds of interviews that the application process you have to go through. Could you give us, the audience, some tips and hints as to what to take note of or what to be focused on or to look into when making the application process?
Yes, of course. So in terms of the tips for the application, I will have two tips. The first one is during the interview, I did get tests on the knowledge on private international law and also the projects that HCCH is undertaking. So therefore, and if a candidate will have some sort of knowledge in private international law, that will be very helpful. Secondly, I think it is very useful to know what is happening around the world, because working in an international organization requires a good sense of international relationship, and that will be very useful when it actually comes to work in The Hague. Thank you.
Thank you. So are there any final notes from the two speakers, Beryl and Ronald?
Let me start first. I strongly encourage the employers, the firms, to let the juniors get seconded to these international organizations. I want to pick up on one point that Beryl said, was that the international conventions are there for possibly for the next 5, 10, or 15 years. So we know what will going to happen on, for example, the insolvency front in the next 5, 10 years. So we, as a lawyer, as the Hong Kong legal profession, can arm ourselves as to what will or might happen on this international front. So for those firms, do let the juniors, if I can put it like that, the associates, apply for the Secondment program. Well worth it.
Thank you, Ronald. Anything further from Beryl?
Yes, I think so far I have experienced the Secondment life for 2 months in The Hague and has been very rewarding already. And I have another around 4 months to go. So I trust that I will have actually learned much more than I'm now during my next 4 months. And if any Law Society members are interested in applying for the Secondment program and wants to have more information from me, I will be very welcome to hear from them and answer any inquiries or questions from them.
I'm sure there will be a lot of people with inquiries. I take this opportunity to thank both of you, Ronald and Beryl, for attending this Q&A session. It has been very, very helpful, and I do hope that this will definitely help with the audience here to learn a bit more about the Secondment program and hopefully to apply for the Secondment program. We know that the next round of the application process, the deadline will be on the 10th May 2022. There will be an online information session organized by DOJ, and details can be found on the DOJ's website. So for these audience, if you're interested, please do look into it. It is definitely a worthwhile experience from what I hear from Ronald and Beryl, both on the employer side and employee side. And I do hope that we as a Law Society do get more and more of these opportunities outwards. Thank you very much both, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Calvin.
Thank you, Calvin.